At the start of the story, some fishermen set out in their traditional boats into an unfamiliar sea area. They slowly move towards the deeper waters. One fisherman breaks away from the group and heads to his usual fishing spot. He throws his net into the sea with a strong throw. The net slowly sinks down. After waiting for a while, he starts pulling the net back in. But the net feels so heavy, like he's caught something really big. Excited, he pulls even harder, but suddenly something pulls him so hard, music, that he gets dragged into the water. The net slips from his hands and falls down. He goes down. Somehow, he comes back up to the surface, takes a deep breath, and then dives down again. He tries to cut the net. But then, the fish around him start to seem strange. Their behavior isn't normal, like they're hiding some scary secret. Meanwhile, in another part of the ocean, marine scientist Charlie Wagner finds out that their underwater ROV has lost contact. He heads to the spot where the floating buoy is. Wearing a diving suit, he goes down and finds the ROV trapped in a stuck net. He gets the net ready. He tries to pull it up, but suddenly he feels like someone's watching him from the dark water. A chill runs all over his body. Panicked, he yanks the net up with all his strength. He grabs the rower and quickly climbs up. Tying the rower to the buoy, he rushes back to his boat. That weird, creepy feeling still lingers. As soon as he reaches the boat, the feeling disappears. On the other side of the beach, a dead orca whale is found. Its whole body is covered in strange wounds. Leon, who's by the sea, the shore has grown. Looks like the death isn't too old, maybe 3 or 4 hours tops. He suspects the nearby fishermen might have done it. He heads to the dock with his partner to question them. They talk to an old fisherman. The guy stays quiet. Then he takes them to his boat. The whole boat is badly damaged, like someone rammed into it hard. The fisherman says that in the morning, another boat attacked theirs. It kept smashing against the wall like it was crazy. The fishermen defended themselves with hooks and knives. They had to fight the music. Maybe that's the whale lying dead on the beach. Lon thinks it was self-defense, but the question remains. Why did these usually peaceful creatures suddenly start attacking humans? Charlie comes back to the same area with his boyfriend. They put the repaired rover back into the water before leaving. He notices some strange things floating on the water. He picks one up and lights it with a lighter. The thing keeps burning. He explains that it's fire ice, methane gas that gets trapped under the ocean. But it usually stays down there. So why is it coming up? And when they look around, there are all these things floating everywhere. Charlie quickly starts recording a video. Meanwhile, Lon begins tracking the whale's movements to figure out what's going on. Soon, he finds out that a group of orcas is coming back again. He rushes to that area. As soon as he drops the transmitter into the water, a huge orca comes right up to him. He gets scared, but the orca just looks at him for a moment, then dives back down. Then he sees that the group is heading towards a tourist boat. It's moving fast, and it follows right behind. People on the boat happily watch an orca jump out of the water. An amazing sight, but the next time it jumps, everything changes. The orca attacks the group on the boat. People start falling into the water. Lon realizes this is an attack. He quickly tries to save the fallen people, but the orcas start swallowing them one by one. Lon watches in horror as his friend is pulled into the ocean. His heart sinks. Now the question is, if the ocean, what if animals suddenly started attacking humans? Meanwhile, in a restaurant kitchen, a chef is about to cut a lobster, but some thick, strange liquid oozes out from inside. He looks at it in shock. Suddenly, the liquid splashes onto his face. Everyone freaks out. The chef angrily tells him to throw it away. But that lobster was quietly spreading a dangerous virus. Within moments, the chef starts feeling weird. Something's wrong with his body. Is this just a coincidence? Or is something bigger coming from the ocean? Is the danger moving towards humans? The story has just begun, and the suspense is building every moment. A tired man thought he'd step outside for some fresh air. But just a few minutes after stepping out, he suddenly collapsed, and his breath stopped forever. At the same time, the dishwasher started feeling strange unease. His hands were shaking, and clean plates kept slipping and breaking again and again. The assistant cook was rushed to the hospital, but the doctors thought it was just a simple fever and stomach issue. It was troubling. But Dr. Anna, an expert in marine life, got suspicious. She thought this didn't seem like a simple illness. She herself went to the restaurant and questioned the people there. Everyone said the same thing. They had all touched that one lobster, and the cleaner hadn't come to work for several days. Anna immediately found out where he lived. When she opened the door, her heart sank. He was already dead. His body was lying on the floor. Even the assistant cooks at the hospital had died after struggling. Deaths were happening one after another, like a terrifying storm was about to hit. Meanwhile, a big oil exploration ship was anchored in the Norwegian Sea. The crew there witnessed an incredible sight on the seabed. Unknown sea creatures were munching on frozen methane gas, also known as fire ice. The company was about to start drilling there, but was taking precautions to protect the environment. Biology professor Siegel quickly caught some of the creatures and started testing them in the lab. Within moments, his eyes went wide open. Music. These creatures were anything but ordinary. Their jaws were like iron, their teeth sword-like, and they reproduced so fast that babies. They grow up in just a few weeks. They warned Captain Tina, saying these little bugs could mess up the whole game. But the big company execs just laughed it off. What can one bug really do? Young Sigel reminded them that if the ecosystem gets messed up, they'd have to shut everything down. Tina also explained that if the fire ice breaks, it would release a huge amount of methane gas, which would ruin the atmosphere and make global warming way worse. Finally, the big bosses decided to see for themselves. To find out the truth, the small probe was sent into the ocean along with a bit of fire ice. They started drilling. Suddenly, the whole ship began shaking violently, like the entire seabed was about to burst open. The sudden jolt stopped quickly. Later, I met Professor Lehman. In a serious tone, Lehman said if the ship had been a bit smaller, the entire crew would have gone down into the sea. Then he showed the report on the bugs and said, "They're not just eating. It seems some unknown force is controlling them. Even after death, the bacteria keep working the same way." At that moment, a woman was at a small research board. I was on a video call with my friend Wagner when suddenly the connection dropped and weird signals started flashing on the screen. Sea creatures were releasing gas bubbles from below, sinking ships. Strange, poor-looking jellyfish began showing up in cities, poisoning water sources. Lobsters and fish were practically letting themselves be caught by humans. But as soon as they were caught, they released an unknown virus. That virus spread among people like wildfire. In one restaurant, just one dish wiped out the entire staff. Hospitals were overwhelmed with long lines of patients. But no one could figure out what this virus really was. Another bacteria would enter the blood and instantly double its strength. Terrifying sea-related incidents started happening all over the world at the same time. The ocean wasn't calm anymore. It had turned into a bloody battleground. Marine Security Officer Leon was working hard to solve this mystery. When they did a post-mortem on a dead orca whale, they found strange parasites in its brain. Checking the migration routes of the whales, it became clear someone was controlling them. To uncover the truth, Leon went among the humpback whale pods. They jumped into the water. Leaving their fear behind, they attached a tracker to a whale. But the next moment, all the whales suddenly woke up and launched an attack. They barely escaped and got back on the ship, and as soon as they moved away, a huge whale crashed right where they had been. Meanwhile, Professor Siegel contacted a famous Japanese consortium of 3 ships because that's where these mysterious creatures were first found. When the founder was shown Siegel's full report, his eyes widened in shock. The creatures in the Norwegian Sea were exactly the same. Several ships had suddenly. After seeing the drowning accidents, Sanshun Edu, the owner of 3 ships group, got suspicious that this wasn't just a coincidence. He immediately ordered his team to launch a full investigation and shared the info with Siegel. Within just a few hours, Siegel received a message from the 3 ships consortium. These strange bugs had now spread to several countries, even in areas where the biggest mining operations were going on that very evening. Professor Ramon brought good news: music. Their underwater robot had found the missing probe ship. Yeah, the girl who was missing was a really close friend of Wagner. As soon as the scientists saw the live footage from the robot, everyone just froze. Giant whales were swimming around the sunken ship, paying tribute to all the fallen crew. Then suddenly, a terrifying sight appeared. The huge whales moved toward a glowing curtain of light, like they were being called by some kind of magic. It was as if a powerful creature was hiding behind that light, summoning them. Meanwhile, by the shore, a couple was walking around, lost in their romance. They had just reached the peak when suddenly a crystal crab climbed onto the girl's leg. She got really startled. The boy tried to calm her down, saying there was nothing to be scared of. But then the girl's gaze shifted to the other side, and her face turned pale. When they looked, thousands, no, millions, of crystal crabs were coming toward them like a wave. Both of them panicked, ran to the car, and barely escaped just in time, driving away. The villagers watched them, shocked and worried. But as soon as they were a little away from the village, the boy suddenly slammed on the brakes. Dee and Donna were thrown out because these crystal crabs came from the deep sea and had surrounded the whole village. Ever since that strange glowing light appeared on the sea floor, Police Officer Leon and all the researchers were convinced that all the recent attacks were connected to it. But the question was, what kind of creature keeps giving off light and making weird sounds to lure others? The bearded cop said it must be some secret government experiment, but Leon shook his head. What kind of experiment could control whales to attack humans? Meanwhile, at the medical, expert Anna and her team were briefing government officials. After a thorough study of lobsters and the spreading bacteria, they found out it's a dangerous mutated bacteria. It mainly spreads through water and contaminated food. So far, there's no cure for it. Anna gave a strong warning. Stop coastal fishing immediately. Ban swimming in the sea and drinking unboiled water completely. But the top officials shouted back, saying, this will totally wreck the coastal economy. Anna replied, if the water keeps getting more polluted, the damage will be 100 times worse. The argument heated up on both sides. Later, Anna called her daughter and warned her, don't take a bath yet, and make sure to boil the water before drinking. At the same time, Sigel and her team were checking the underwater pipeline for ethylene gas on a research ship in the Norwegian Sea. They wanted to see if some unknown ice worms had maybe broken it. But when the probe reached the marked spot, everyone was shocked. There was no pipeline there at all. The seabed had been badly disturbed. Sigel said, they called Tina outside and said Japan's 3 ships company makes seabed mining equipment. The Dutch government ordered a ton of it. The law says don't mess with the ocean's nature, but these guys are openly mining under the pretense of laying pipelines. Sigel thought Tina was lying too, but Tina swore he wasn't. I don't know the truth. I was just following the Dutch government's orders. Then Sigel went to Professor Ramon and said, sir, this is a government game. Let's tell the media. But the professor stopped him. The license only covers mining tests. It's written down, but there's no proof. If you leak this, Tina will be the first one to go to jail. Meanwhile, on the other side, biologists were researching mutated creatures. Turns out, these weren't found in the country before. They were also discovered at ports in 4 other countries, first in Japan. The genes matched perfectly. When compared with the white stuff found in the brain stem of an orca, music, the infection was exactly the same. Experts said this infection probably didn't start in these creatures. The new samples vanish as soon as they hit the air, otherwise, more tests could have been done. It's like Leon sensed something. Got it. That night, he sneaked into the 3 ships consortium's marine research lab. His investigation had shown that the first mutated creatures were bought from Tokyo. He was sure he'd find samples there. But as soon as he got inside, security spotted him. He tried to run and hide, but the guard dog sniffed him out. Leon was caught and locked up in an office. A little later, an older bearded man came in and said, the boss wants to talk to you. Then Jog, the regional head of 3 ships, video called in. After hearing Leon's plan, Joe Tung made a deal. Give me the list of all the ports where music, the creature was found, and we need a full report on it. In return, we'll give you plenty of samples. Otherwise, you'll be stuck here. Lon had no choice but to agree. Finally, he left with a bunch of samples. But the founder of 3 ships, Sanshun Edu, also got the info he wanted. These mutated bugs and creatures had now become a direct threat to their shipping lines. Meanwhile, at the lighthouse, Wagner quietly cried as he watched his friend's last video. Suddenly, Wagner kept replaying that final video of his friend over and over at the lighthouse. Something fell off with the music. When he looked closely, his eyes popped wide open. Outside the window, at the moment the ship was sinking, the same mysterious glowing light was visible that had appeared on the ocean floor earlier. Meanwhile, Anna found out that a deadly virus had also spread in the village attacked by the crystal crabs. The disaster management team immediately sent samples to the lab. Anna suited up in protective gear, got ready, dropped the frozen crystal crab into water to melt it, and then cut it open. Everyone was stunned by the inside flesh. The whole thing. The body was full of strange, unknown substances. When looked under the microscope, it became clear. It was the same mutated bacteria. It meant some new creature was infecting these sea animals. A woman was standing by the sea, enjoying the ocean breeze. Suddenly, hundreds of sea birds screamed as they flew right over her head. She was a bit shocked. But the next moment, the seawater started receding rapidly. She realized a tsunami was coming. She ran to the parking lot and saw her husband already sitting nervously in the car. She shouted, "Wait, take me with you." "All right." But the husband suddenly hit the gas and drove off. The woman was left standing there, tears in her eyes and deep pain in her heart. Then huge waves rose up and the entire shore got flooded. People were starting to realize this couldn't be some government experiment because no experiment could control such a massive ocean. Wagner took the audio from his friend's video and sent it to Professor Lehman, saying, "Sir, this sound matches exactly the frequency coming from that light on the ocean floor." Before the Juno ship sank, two other ships had already gone down. Satellite data showed that the water temperature suddenly spiked everywhere. Wagner also found a hydrothermal vent nearby. He suspected that something was releasing a huge amount of methane from that vent, which caused the ship to sink. But Professor Lehman flat out rejected this. He said the vent is still dormant. No one on Earth could push that much methane that far, and the mysterious light sound was exactly what Wagner described. Siegel went straight to Wagner and said, "Let's go monitor the vent you mentioned." They installed the device. But as soon as it was set up, suddenly a massive tsunami hit. Meanwhile, Anna called an emergency press conference. She said, "Lobster, crystal crabs, jellyfish, wherever these creatures appear, the water gets horribly polluted. The bacteria have now reached most water sources. It all started in Japan first. Now it's spreading to many countries. I think some new creature has emerged in the deep sea that infects others and then reaches humans. Data says the time has come. Not much time is left." Siegel immediately called Ramon and connected all the events together. In the evening, there was a video call discussion with Anna. Siegel invited them to come to the research institute. The next morning, all the investigators gathered in one place. Siegel addressed everyone. "Friends, the behavior of marine life is now beyond what biology books explain. Disasters like tsunamis are no longer normal. Attacks from bacteria and viruses are happening all at once. I'm completely sure that something or some creature underwater is using the ocean as a weapon against humans. It's there. Maybe some super intelligent creature hiding deep in the ocean." Everyone was shocked. Professor Lehman still wasn't ready to believe it. But he warned, "If we're going, we have to be extremely careful." The team decided to go deep into the ocean to find out the truth. But they needed money and resources for that. Government officials just laughed. They said it was nonsense, making a big deal out of nothing, and rejected the proposal. That's when Senshua Edu, the founder of 3 ships, came to meet Seagal himself. He said, "I'll fund the whole thing. Your theory, whether it was the right move or not. If I wanted to save my shipping lines, a whole team of biologists, linguists, doctors, and marine experts had to be ready." No one knew just how dangerous this journey would be. Before setting off, everyone said small goodbyes to their families. On that gloomy, misty afternoon, a secret research ship slowly headed out into the deep sea. Was something even more terrifying waiting for them? You'll find out in the next story.